Give us any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rule, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true.
Welcome to National United podcast about 8 seasons in a row. I'm Mr. Fernandez, and
I guess I'm Chris Warner. Hi.
well, in case you haven't turned into somebody else too, we're about to review Laverne's Broken Legs from season 6 of Laverne and Shirley. We're almost at the end of the season. We're getting very close to the end of the season. This one was written by Anthony DeMarco and David Ketchum, and it's directed by Ray DeValley Jr. Chris probably has some facts coming up about them.
Yes, particularly because this is Ray's last episode for the show, I believe.
To my surprise, yeah, it is. And considering what ended up in the episode, it's kind of a sour note for him to leave on, too bad, sadly. But, you know.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Here's what the episode's about. Laverne slips in a hunk of lard in the kitchen of Cowboy Bills and breaks her leg, a condition that leaves her feeling miserable and left out due to her lack of mobility and the amount of pain she's in. When she learns Rhonda set to throw a wild party that very night, she insists upon Shirley going alone. After her friends pop in to extol the party's joys and leave her alone and miserable, Laverne falls asleep watching It's a Wonderful Life in which she'd never been born. She soon meets her guardian angel, Bernard C. Bernie Whitlock, who handles Pasadena and West Burbank. He informs her that if he convinces her to live, he'll finally get his wings. He shows her a world where Shirley is a shut-in in an apartment filled with dogs and goats, the boys are hardened TV-stealing criminals, and Frank is a lonely bum. Will these horrible sights force Laverne to recognize the goodness still inherent in her own life? So what do you think of this one?
I'm not against the broken leg and It's a Wonderful Life gimmicks of sitcoms. These are TV show staples that go back, I'm willing to bet, back to the 50s. I'm sure they started, because I recall there was an injury episode in... I think it was Bewitched, right? I want to say that, and I think there was one where Herman Munster, I think, also had like some injury that he then ended up faking for a while or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, like I know I've seen this in tons of shows up to this point. It's not that it can be, there are times where it can be done. Times I would say it could be done well, but the It's a Wonderful Life stuff is not. This is weird. It's a weird episode. It feels like this just something went wrong and dominoed wrongness throughout. And even though it has a very sincere and sweet message at the end, and it has a very good happy ending, which I thought was actually kind of cool. The idea that the party just wasn't the same without Laverne, which, spoilers, that's the ending. Yeah. But that's pretty typical of these types of. Yeah. I don't know. I was bored. I was so bored. Yeah. Like, I didn't actually I tried to go back and do a second pass to do notes, and I just couldn't. I could, make it about a minute. I'd just zone out, glaze over, and just be like, especially with the episodes that it's surrounded by, Plout and Sing, 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 it's like, this just doesn't stand up, No pun intended.
Yeah. This one is such a weak episode. This isn't my favorite by a long shot. I won't say this is offensive as what we've got coming up in some episodes that we've previously seen, but it's just not a good one. Because it's comprised mainly of everybody being mean to Laverne and basically rubbing it in her face about how much fun they're having. Then she obviously feels lousy but goes really way over the top saying she wishes she was never born. Why, honey? You've missed out on parties before. You're going to miss out on parties again sometime in your life. And it's just a Rhonda party. I'm sure Rhonda throws these ragers at least once a month.
Totally, yeah. I mean, this is a Rhonda party that, it's the exceptionally good one, but and people will tell her about how this other one was better and blah blah blah. You had to be there and yada yada. But as you're saying, everyone's so exceptionally mean, where it just to the point that it doesn't make sense. Like, if it had turned out the reveal was the angel wasn't actually an angel, and that Laverne was basically just having this weird dream, and that it turned out the guy was just this dude that it's his favorite movie. He's an antisocial or a very introverted guy that got dragged to the party, and so he wanders over next door to hang out with Laverne because he's like, you seem like a nice person, and and you're watching one of my favorite movies. If that turned, those elements, kind of bring things together. There is really a lot of things missing throughout. And I also felt that the whole It's a Wonderful Life thing being done as a bubble where it's all in the one room, it comes off as, not only does it come off as cheap, but a waste of really good performances from the talent.
Yeah. It's for this episode work, we have to ignore a lot of things. You have to think to yourself, Laverne is this party animal who hasn't been stopped by a severe cold, for instance. I cannot picture her even like hours after breaking her leg, not wheeling that chair across the way and into Rhonda's apartment.
Oh, totally.
In fact, it's kind of ableist.
Yeah.
That everybody acts like she can't do it. It's weird. I mean, she only has broken her leg. As long as people aren't smacking into it, she should be all right. She's not even drugged out at this point. Yeah, there's no reason why she can't be there. If, she can still fake it at work. Nobody's going to turn her in for that.
Yep.
She's saying, I need a week off because I broke my leg. She's got evidence she broke her leg. She can just show them the doctor's report on it. Yeah, I broke my leg. But there's no reason to say that. We have to insist that, Laverne's not brave enough to do this. And she has crawled across broken glass in circumstances that are as strained. So I can't see her just curling in on herself and saying, I wish I was dead because of this.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're way worse. Her almost fiance died, for heaven's sake.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, exactly.
And that was when she should say, I wish I was never born. Not for this.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is that the whole It's a Wonderful Life setup and payoff and whatnot is it's done in a way that almost feels like that's the only thing I would say is offensive is that it's sort of like taking this slight
concept
and then it just blows it out of proportion.
Yeah.
And because of it, it makes any sort of sincerity in the dream scene come off incredibly callous, in my opinion.
Yeah. I cannot imagine these people turning out this way just because Laverne is in their life. There is a way to show them how she's a missing piece in each of their lives if she's gone. I can't imagine Shirley curling up into herself and being a shut-in recluse with dogs without Laverne. If Laverne never happened, she would still have Anne-Marie in her life.
She would have Anne-Marie, she would have Terry Buttafuoco, she would have Rosa Greenbaum, they would have all the Angora Debs, and...
Yeah. She would still be driven, go-get-'em, active Annie Shirley. Mm-hmm. She might have a couple of dogs. She might not be, she might be lonely. She should be like, I have all this confidence and drive. I could see her even turning into like a cold, calculated executive type.
Oh, God, yeah. And that the only thing she has in her life to come home to is the dogs, which is happy, but there's a sense that, well, it could even be the dogs don't like her. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because that's because the training of baby and mothering Laverne helps her with her, her love of animals, in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's that kind of stuff, not she would be a lonely shut-in in lousy clothing, unable to go out with a man.
Yep.
With no friends. I can't imagine Shirley ever having that fate. And then the notion that the boys suddenly become criminals only because Laverne lets them in to watch her TV whenever they want to.
It's a joke. It's a bad joke. Yeah. It doesn't work.
It's bad. First of all, it's pretty clear that the boys are on some level rapists and or sex perverts in this fantasy.
Right.
I smell women.
Right. That line, I smell women, made me so uncomfortable. Like, yikes.
Oh, God, yeah. That's the boys on the other end of the spectrum where they're portrayed as, like, total sex perverts. Instead of their sex perversion, like, partially being, like, a joke that they're using to rile the girls up. Or them being pervy, but being so totally inept that they are no threat.
Yeah, it's going back to the whole...
I smell women... Ugh.
Yeah, it's back to that whole the old version of the boys being all hey pussy, it's like a very it's I didn't like it, and not to mention it was again because of the whole bubble element of it. It feels like this weird sketch kind of falling. It's weird. Like I don't want to dislike this episode, but I also don't have any. It doesn't give me a lot of reasons to like it, even though those Sydney's performance as Sad Shirley is really good. The Sad Frank is tragic. Phil kills it. God, but God, what a waste on this episode.
That one chunk where Phil is acting out Frank's total heartbreak is beautiful. And then Penny acting out Laverne's rage and horror is really good. That is really, really good. That's good stuff. That's probably the best part of the whole episode. The rest of it, like I can picture Frank ending up. That said, I can't ever picture him being a bum. I can picture him maybe being a mama's boy back in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, God, yeah. He would turn tail and go back to Brooklyn, back to New York and back to his mom. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Yep. I can picture him being that way, and maybe he just sits there and runs the family business, and after Josephine dies, maybe one of his cousins would encourage him to get out there and get married again. But I can picture him having no life in a different way than just losing all of his ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it would be different if Laverne died.
Mm-hmm.
Then I could see him being like this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As a bomb, God, yeah. Losing both mother and daughter, God, wife and daughter. He would, that would wreck him.
Yeah, he'd collapse.
Yeah. Which is the other, which is, again comes back to one of the other issues with doing a parody of "It's a Wonderful Life," which again I don't have an issue with. If I recall, didn't Tiny Toons do a "It's a Wonderful Life"?
Oh yeah, almost every single Western form of media has parodied that movie at some point or another.
Pretty much. Yeah, especially if the show was from the 80s, the cartoon or sitcom was in the 80s or 90s, it pretty much had to do an episode. It's it is as ubiquitous as the broken leg episode as well. But it's when you box it into one location, you essentially cut off any sort of potential for depth for that episode. And it just for this particular instance of it, it really pulls the whole thing. It just there's not enough there. There's no foundation. It's like you're trying to make a house with no foundation at this point.
To do an episode like this, you have to really, really understand who the characters are at foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think of who they would be without this important person in their lives. And of course, there's a way to do this to make it make sense for everybody. The way the show does it, it's just easy.
Mm-hmm.
And just not, it's not thoughtful of who the characters are at core.
Okay. The other thing also is, it's not to say that we like to watch these characters suffer, but there are ways to make sadness interesting and therefore entertaining.
Yeah.
I was not entertained by any of this, except the dogs. Yeah. The dogs were cute. That was it. And so I didn't feel engaged in any of these fantasy scenarios. And I guess what I mean is, what it also comes down to is, wow, poor Laverne, her dreams suck.
Yeah.
I mean, because the last time we had a really good dream scene, just a dream scene at all, really, was aside from the daydream at the beginning of the season, was upstairs downstairs.
Yes.
And I think Laverne's dream was of hell, right? With the wacko.
Wacko.
Yeah, that was that is a much more fun dream, and that needed that level of fantasy here, because again, you're dealing with angels, you're dealing with I wish I was never born, and Frank Capra stuff.
Yep.
Go all out. This is like, I know I'm belaboring this point, but it's a case of you're locked by location, you're locked by a scenario, you're locked by, and coming back to, as you were saying, understand these characters and what would really happen, like really understanding the idea of you pluck this one portion out of it. Ketchum and DeMarco, I think as good as they were on this show, I don't think they were the right fit for this story.
No.
And I'm curious how much of this is 100% them, because, screenplay attributions, teleplay attributions even, are weird. And as we've already discussed recently through this season, is that there are situations where entireties of episodes were rewritten by other writers without, and even writers came up with like entire scenes and never got credited, because they weren't the ones that broke the story down in the writing room. I'm curious how much of this is them, because it's like they understand the humor of these characters, because Bardwell Caper is such a blast.
Yeah.
Like every action in that two-parter is pretty much in character for every single one of them.
Yes.
This doesn't understand the heart of the characters, on the other hand.
Exactly. You can even compare this to Love Out the Window.
Yeah.
How well that understands who Shirley is, a striving artist, and how well it understands Laverne's trauma over losing Randy. And you can look at that episode and say, yeah, this understands who this person is at very soul. You can look at an episode like Sing 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 and see Lenny being both this guy filled with bravado who will say to Laverne that he wishes his crush was there in the nude with him, and yet when confronted with a girl, he can't get the words out. That's Lenny. And then you have Squiggy, who's filled with bravado and theatrical, blandishments, but he at heart has a human heart, has some form of sensitivity for his friends, and cares.
Not to mention also, Squiggy's bravado is also masking the insecurity and the pain of rejection that he has experienced all of his life.
Yeah, exactly. Ding ding, exactly. And this episode doesn't understand any of that. It's just tough because it could be interesting. It could be better than it is. When you play half of it though for as a joke, you play the girls like attachment to each other as kind of a joke. You play Shirley's love of animals kind of as the only character aspect that you remember and use, and the boy's perviness and willingness to steal being the only character element you use. Then it just flanderizes everything out, which makes Frank's segment the only segment that catches the heart.
Right.
It makes it interesting. So
Exactly. And it's not that you can't have comedy with those elements of tragedy.
Oh yeah.
When you think about It's a Wonderful Life
yeah.
and how, what George Bailey sees
Yes.
in that dream and in that vision, that visitation he gets in the film, it's it's harrowing.
Yeah.
But it's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's there's a reason we go back and watch that over and over and over again, because there is a grit and an intelligence to the execution. These are smart people making that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of those that whether you like the film or not, you have to admit that at the very least it's trying. Here, as you're saying, it's like it's oversimplifying these characters for the sake of comedy without having any of the weight. And therefore, but because they're making the choice that you can either be funny or you can break the heart, and they choose break the heart with Frank, and be funny with everybody else.
Yeah, which is not how you do it. You can do even the version itself shows how you can do an episode like that. Look at This Is a Cemetery.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which perfectly balances the humor and the very deathly serious situation that's going on with Laverne, trying to come to grips with her mom being dead and having been dead for a long time. Yeah.
And you think of how Lenny's telling his story, and first he says, it's like, here's a picture of my mom and me, and you realize, he's talking about his mom abandoning him.
Yeah.
But then I'm the one on the left. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's when we stop being in pictures together.
Yeah.
That's funny and sad. This. You know what? This needs to be a Declan and Leshen episode. That's what this needs.
Yeah.
That's what this really needs.
Yeah. It needs Declan and Leshen ability to balance sentiment and humor. Look for Your Leap also does this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally.
And that it's funny. It's got really great funny one-liners, and yet you absolutely have sad moments placed throughout it. So, yeah.
It's anyway. Talking about the So we've talked a bunch about the script. We also, I remember when we were talking about this and watching it together, the blocking is a mess. It's such a.
It was so bad. I pointed it out.
Yeah. For those listening, when Lisa and I watch these episodes, typically, Lisa focuses a lot on the character and the writing focus, but that does not mean that she doesn't have an understanding, obviously. But you absolutely have an understanding of, the elements of blocking, of staging, and things like that. And I, vice versa, am usually focused on the technical craftsmanship of it. And what was interesting was, in a sense, we almost got a little bit swapped at certain points, especially when Laverne's on her own.
Yeah.
It felt like we had suddenly swapped, because when I went back to watch the episode, I realized there was nothing in the story moving during that entire physical comedy of trying to get Laverne down the stairs with the broken leg, and she gets the the strap, the sling around her leg and all that. And then I was saying, I was thinking, God, and then you were the one pointing out, God, the state, the blocking, this is so bad, because it's
So you were the one who managed to catch the fact that when Laverne is in the kitchen tossing out the garbage that Rhonda has brought to her house, there is somebody visible over her shoulder, sitting behind the couch, leafing through a script. It appears to be a script.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 9% sure that it's the actor who portrayed our angel character here.
Yep. Oh God. Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
90% sure this is him from the outfit that he's wearing.
Yep.
But man alive, it's just bad. It's unprofessional. It's bad to the point of being unprofessional, and this show has not hit such doldrums as it will in a couple of seasons that it can get away with looking unprofessional like this.
Exactly.
It's just sort of surrounded by much stronger episodes with much better direction and much better blocking and much better cinematography.
Yeah, because it's like the framing of some of these shots is better because there's interesting like composition,
Yes.
but the blocking is so clunky that it's like, okay, you framed the subject well, but it's almost like they like I almost wonder to what extent things were just not happening in the order they needed to because of schedules.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as we mentioned before, this is Ray DeValle Jr.'s final episode for the show as a director. He had stopped being the technical coordinator for Laverne and Shirley around the end of season 3, and he ended up coming back to direct 4 more episodes of the show after that, which interestingly is also pretty much this is the end of his directing career. Because aside from this, he only directed 2 episodes of Who's Watching the Kids, which was, as we've mentioned, Gary's second attempt at a Vegas showgirl sitcom.
I don't know why he kept trying that subject. He kept pounding away at it and never got successful like he wanted.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I will say, interesting is, so Ray took a bit of a break or was just trying to find other gigs in other fields around this time after Broken Leg because he only ended up returning as a technical coordinator to TV in the mid-'80s. He was trying it out or helping out on different shows. Like, he would do an episode or 2 for like Life with Lucy, Easy Street, Duet, which was also, as we mentioned, co-created by fellow alums of Laverne and Shirley, and even a few episodes of Seinfeld. But he didn't end up really getting a regular job in any show until 1990 when Get a Life and Evening Shade got his technical coordination work. And it's interesting. He remains in the field doing this job for multiple episodes through the 90s until he finally gets his longest running gig. And this is one of those just weird things about this guy. And I'm like almost kind of curious to like talk to him about like what drives him, for technical coordination, which essentially I assume we've assuming from our understanding this is like a stage manager essentially of trying to coordinate all the different department heads and stuff, almost like an assistant director on a sitcom stage. He ends up going on to work on That 70s Show, where he served as a technical coordinator for 197 episodes.
Wow. That's cool.
And after that, it looks like he retired. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, it may just not be might not just be as fun to coordinate the sitcoms these days. But I'm very curious, like, because he directed some episodes we really liked, in the past, and those were some cases where I think he just kind of had to fall into it because I have a suspicion that was more the necessity rather than necessarily desire. So I'm just kind of curious as to where that happened, what happened here that made this, was this a coming in to do a favor because somebody fell through? I mean, because these things can happen. Somebody can be in a car accident. Somebody can be late. Somebody can have, a new baby or whatever. And so somebody had to, and maybe even one of the regular directors for this season, had a falling out with Gary or Lowell or somebody.
Or with Penny and Cindy. That happened a lot. Or with David or Michael. We know that happened an awful lot where they said, fire all the writers, bring in these people I like.
Wow.
Fire all these directors, bring in people I like. So, we know that happened.
Yeah.
It's a long legend. The girls admitted to it themselves that they did that because they were insecure about the positions because they fell into this. And then it's like, what did I do in the first place to make this such a success? And then you start overthinking it, as Penny said. You start overthinking your position and you start wondering what you did right. And then when the show started to fail in season 5, what did I do wrong? So that's the kind of stuff that happens.
It's a trip, man.
Yeah, man. That might have happened. I don't know, because he shows a heck of a lot more technical aptitude throughout his run on the show than he does in this episode. I do not know what happened. The fact that that person is visible behind Penny as she's throwing that garbage out in a SD version of the episode. This isn't done for widescreen. This hasn't been remastered. This is a standard definition version of the episode, and that was left in, and nobody cared. Nobody cared to yell cut and reshoot it. I just have no idea what happened, but it screams of somebody not paying attention. And it's bad. It's unusually inept for a show that is usually incredibly apt. But, moving all of its cameras around the soundstage and getting all of these angles covered. So, I don't know what happened there, but man, it's poor. In this episode, it is poor. And I don't know why.
Yep. Yeah, I just... my God. Yeah, it's weird. I feel bad dunking on the episode this hard, and then I remember Jeffrey Kramer's performance as the Angel.
Yeah.
That was a choice.
Yeah. You didn't like him at all. You hated his performance. I remember you saying that. And I am kind of uh, ambivalent on it to a degree. It does what it needs to do for the episode, and the character is irritating because he's supposed to be irritating, but it absolutely does not ring a bell for me. It's not like exciting to me.
What's
It's
sad?
not, for, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Please go ahead. It does not ring a bell or get an angel its wings for you. Yes.
No, it's just kind of there. It could be worse, could be better, but it's not offensive.
It's something about his line delivery and the sound of his voice, the affectation that he gives, that just is like, eh. I don't know. It reminds me of it reminds me of those like syrupy, manipulative little shits that you deal with, in film business. I
Like an
guess.
Eddie Haskell performance.
Yeah, Yeah, okay, I could see that.
Your dress looks lovely today, Mrs. Cleaver.
I feel so bad that I hate his performance this much because I've liked this guy in other movies. This
Yeah.
is Deputy Hendricks from Jaws.
Yeah, it is. It is. He's talented.
I mean, he's in Hollywood Boulevard. He's in Halloween 2. He's in Clue. He's the
Yeah.
motorist.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. It's like, I kind of think the performance is doing what it needs to do in a lot of ways. I think he's supposed to be unctuous and annoying and grating because he kind of grates on Laverne until, she realizes, oh, this guy is here to teach me that I'm supposed to be grateful for what I have, and then reverses course. The performance serves that, and yet it also is irritating. And it is all kind of there, because he can do so much better. We know this guy can do better. That's what's so frustrating. All the things that are wrong with this episode, we know these people can do so much better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it just feels lazy.
It's weird in that regard. It's really weird. I mean, this guy was even in Dinner for Four. This is another Dinner for Four guy that comes back. He's one of the two doctors from that episode. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense. He ended up moving into producing in the 90s. He was the co-executive producer and producer on both The Practice and Ally McBeal for 40 plus episodes apiece on each show.
Man.
So
Wow. Man. That's amazing.
See, okay, I have this thought. Now, we're going to be moving into, as we're also talking about the actors. So we also have the mailman / cop. Rick Dano plays as him. What if, just as a way of like, I know this is getting into, fan fix-it-fic, territory, but what if Jeffrey Kramer was the angel and Rick Dano is a devil inside of Laverne's mind, and they're both fighting for her soul through the scenarios?
Honestly, they did that kind of episode for Happy Days, and I think it would work in Laverne and Shirley. It worked even better in Laverne and Shirley. I think it happens with the Fonz. I think it happens with Chachi. Chachi sells his soul. That's right. Chachi sells his soul to the devil.
Well, I mean, Scott Bio, which fuck you, Scott Bio.
I have several friends who are blocked by him on Twitter. At this point.
It's a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
We will be eventually. Will be eventually.
Yeah.
We'll get
He
there.
actually liked something I tweeted, and I was horrified. It was about getting Laverne and Shirley pops. I was like,
Yep.
what the heck? Okay.
I remember that. Yeah, get out of here.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but like that's the thing I feel like the other piece that feels missing in this episode is like, because if the angel is going to be performed by Jeffrey Kramer as so unctuous and annoying, we need a reverse of that either in Laverne, and Laverne's really just a bystander the way that they play her out in this episode. And I feel like using the other character, the mailman / cop, as a recurring character, it's not just I'm this actor playing these different roles. Like, actually have that come up, because when you see the It's a Wonderful Life, parodies done, the idea is often they actually integrate the angel into other scenes in it. A bit like Dean Stockwell say in Quantum Leap, where it's like he just pops up as some other, person. And I'm probably misremembering Quantum Leap. I haven't watched an episode of that show in 20-something years. But just the idea that it's like, suddenly it's like, whoop, they pop up as some other thing. Because, yeah, I mean, this just feels like such a waste. Because, I mean, even Rick Dano, I mean, this is another guy that he was another Roger Corman alum. And, even ended up later on a episode of Freddy's Nightmares. This is a guy that is a character actor with a capital C, Just give him something. Give him something, man.
Man alive.
I mean, the fact that he was most recently seen in Insta-Killer, a cheesy Lifetime-style thriller about a mother realizing her internet-famous daughter is being stalked, is just hilarious, icing on the cake.
Fabulous.
But I feel like there is definitely some key element in the script missing, but also that because of the fact there is that missing part in the script, that it's like I don't know how much they were having to rewrite things and having to fix things on the fly, and that was leading to some of these like issues with blocking, with staging, with coordination and stuff like that. I don't know. This is a goddamn weird episode.
Yeah, it is an odd one. It's an odd one, and we're going to get a lot more episodes like this coming up in season 8.
Mm-hmm.
Which will be weirder in completely different ways. But this one is just like, it's artificial in a lot of ways. But I will say there's some good stuff. The first scene is fun. First couple of scenes are fun until this plot sets in where this party's going to happen. Because it's kind of even almost playful, like bizarrely playful. Because Laverne's stoned out of her mind. She's almost beyond pain, so she's kind of having fun with the whole situation. And Frank feels awful, but he couldn't help it that she slipped in the lard.
Which I love Carmine's interjection. You try using potatoes, you'll sell more fries.
Yeah. Eddie's great in what little bit they give him to do in this episode. They don't give him a lot to do, but he's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the Three Stooges noises he keeps making every time he has to pick up Penny.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then he bops her into the wall as he's carrying her up.
Yep, and there's that whole bit about Carrie. They try to get a little shippy with it, but the whole thing about get her undressed and into bed.
Yeah.
And what I like is Carmine, I think, doesn't plan to do it, but he's giggling because I think they're both waiting for Shirley to realize what they say, and that's why they're rushing up to the room.
Yep. And then he grabs it and goes, doo-doo-doo-doo. And then she seconds later, it kind of totally dings in her brain. And all of a sudden, no, right after him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a perfect in-way for a three-way, Carmine. You didn't just
totally.
It. You didn't take the in. It's your fault, dude.
Yep.
I love Laverne's utter confusion as to what happened to Shirley's hair, because Shirley got a little bit of a perm.
Right, yeah.
Situation. We tried to curl her hair and it failed.
Yeah, I had it fixed. I broke it, but I think it'll set faster than your hair.
Yeah, it'll heal faster than your hair. It's so good. That whole bit is great. I love that Shirley didn't think that through. It was filthy. That moment, the whole moment is really great. Laverne's determination to go, they could use her leg as a limbo stick. Like
Yes. And I love also Laverne's interjection about the hair. Get a couple of surfboard berets and have them shoot off your curl.
Yeah, that was good. I liked that on Monday it's gonna hurt. Her leg's gonna hurt.
Oh yeah.
Right now it's fine. Monday it's gonna hurt. Like relatable, sis. You get that PTO. I love Rhonda at her party. We don't find out how wild it is. It can't be that wild because we can't hear it from the apartment next door. So it kind of leaves you curious as to what the heck's going on over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the fact that Shirley is having such a good time, which means she's flirting with all the guys, so she must have a bunch of guys surrounding her, and there's probably guys that are playing with her hair and stuff like that, and she's just fawning over all the attention, and which is interesting. That's like her letting loose, like that's the thing when it's a good party when even the Little Miss Perfect, that's like reserved, Little Miss Reserved is letting loose and letting the hair down or bouncing up, as it were.
Yeah,
she's perky,
bouncing and behaving. I love that the boys do get a really great hello line here. Over here, it's smelling disgusting. Hello.
Yep.
Like the boys are actually overly mean. I do love, however, that Lenny's really excited to sign her cast.
Yes. Well, part of it's also because he thought it was a wood cast, and so they were going to have to get the wood burning materials.
Were wooden casts even a thing back in the 60s?
No. The plaster casts, I'm pretty sure the plaster casts, I think, started like pre-World War, I think post-World War I, pre-World War II, I think. Yeah. I'd have to look it up, but yeah.
Plaster of Paris from Milwaukee, la-di-da.
It's a very Homer Simpson delivery from Squig. I like that.
Yeah. I'm wondering why the heck they're showing It's a Wonderful Life out of the blue on the TV.
It's clearly not Christmas.
Yeah. You can't tell in California unless you get decorations up. I figure the girls would have decorations everywhere. So it's obviously not Christmas.
Yep. I mean, whatever. It's just, they were able to get the rights. Good for them.
Yeah. Good for that UHF channel back in the 60s. He managed to slap it on right in the middle of prime time. Versus Lawrence Welk, mind you.
uh,
Uh,
so, yeah.
Multicolored toothpicks and Lenny's good tie. uh, yeah. I want to mention that Gary Marshall definitely had a thing for Guardian Angels. Things related to Guardian Angels because there was a sitcom he tried to launch that spun off of Happy Days called Out of the Blue about a guardian angel who comes and settles in with a family. And it did not last for more than a season. Dixie Carter was in it, of all people. But yeah, so this is a story thread that wove through multiple Marshallverse shows. Gary kind of had a thing for guardian angels.
It is notable as having featured a Mork and Mindy crossover. Just Google.
Yes, that happened in the first episode. That happened in the first episode was desperate attempt as a ratings hook and it didn't work at all. So, why the heck does the big guy call this guy Bernie? And my one note on Bernie is that, so did this guy have a stroke while CPA?
Yeah. I'm just gonna say yeah. Yes. Yes, that's the answer. Yes. Let's just God. I mean, and that's the thing. Maybe that's why he annoys me. He reminds me of my uncle, one of my uncles who's a CPA, and I don't like him. So
there you
that
go.
could be it.
There you go. That might be a perfectly good reason why you hate him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like Piece of Angel Cake. That was funny. Laverne's little cartwheel.
The cartwheel's cute. Cartwheel's very cute. I like that. Yep.
Honestly, I wanted to point out one thing here. During the scene with the boys, Laverne can't communicate with anybody. Now, can she?
Mm-mm.
She can't be heard by anybody. She can't touch any of these people.
Mm-mm.
Yet, while the boys are sitting there crying on her sofa, she takes a tissue and she gives one to Lenny, and he successfully uses it.
They do have a look of an exchange of peculiarity at each other, right?
Yeah.
About where the tissue.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. That's what I remember of where the hell did that come from?
Yeah. Even as a ghost, she's handing him tissue. Wait, how the fuck does this logic work if he can't see her? What the fuck is my note on this?
Oh my god. I gave up taking notes for this episode by the time the dream scene started.
Oh. On the other hand, my OTP has a way of transcending the metaphysical, so there you go.
Okay, so that's the unintentionally shippy thing you were mentioning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the unintentionally shippy thing. He's the only person in the dream that she successfully communicates with. That's interesting in of itself, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
God, I wish it was in a better episode.
I know. So, I guess the implication is that Carmine would have never been born, period, because he does not show up in this fantasy at all.
Either that or his scene was cut for time.
Possibly, either or. Maybe he died of a venereal disease. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He boffed the wrong divorcee.
Ended up with a Sif.
I'm just imagining him now in Arkham Asylum, like out of some Lovecraftian horror story, with syphilis.
Yeah. Oh God, poor Carmine. We're sorry we're being mean to Carmine.
Well, this is a version of Carmine that would have probably had it coming a lot more because he wouldn't have had, Laverne to, bop him into shape. Yep,
and he wouldn't have Shirley to gentle him, so he's just like boffing women left and right for cashola.
He always should have, he should have listened to Mama. If only he'd have listened to Mama.
Should have worn his rubbers, caused death. I did like Plead and Say the world is your witness. That was a good one, too. Like I said, everything else, you got to make note that Leslie Easterbrook gets to do something different here with Rhonda.
It's true.
She has to be softer and sweeter and sympathetic and caring about another person, which she solely has become that person over the course of the episode, of the season. Over the course of season 6, she's gone from being hard as nails and snobby and exclusionist to someone who at least invited the girls to this party.
Mm-hmm.
And even though she did come over just to throw her garbage out, it's kind of like one step forward, 2 steps back. But
yeah, and she does kind of make up for it at the end when everybody because she's part of the group that comes to visit at the party.
Yep.
At the end. So.
Yep. My note as Laverne finally loses it and starts to beat the hell out of her guardian angels. Kick his ass.
Throw him in the trash.
Slam dunk him, dispose of the whole angel.
Yep. I mean, it doesn't got wings, so I mean, can we
Yeah.
even call him an angel
Yeah,
at
yeah.
this point? He's got a little. At this point, he's just a low-level warlock.
He's not even a good warlock. All he does is make her have a bad dream.
I mean,
At least
that's.
he can set something on fire or destroy the
I mean,
party.
he's not even a level 3. He can't even. He can't even multi-class. I mean, what the hell is this crap?
Yeah, screw that. Okay. And then finally, everybody comes over. Laverne calls a room filled mostly with strangers, the best friends she's ever had, which will become sadly prophetic and true by the time season 8 rolls around.
Oh God.
I love the line Monday going to work pain. I like that they kept the party there. They didn't just come over to visit. They kept the party in that room, which is sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get that really sweet tag scene where Carmine shows up to sing, and then they start singing it around, which is cute. And I like that when Eddie enters, Carmine kisses Shirley on the cheek, which is really sweet and random.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the end of my notes. And my last note is this episode sucks. LOL.
My last note is, wow, this one was boring, insipid, poorly crafted, badly blocked, rushed, and a waste of good performances. 3.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
There's my ranking.
Is already a ranking. My ranking is low. I think I'm going to go with a 3 flat. I might even go.
Yeah,
with
you know what?
2.9.
Let's that 0.5 is too good. Let's chop that off.
I'm going to a 2.9.
Wow, you even went lower than me. Yeah, 3. Three.
I just don't
3.
like this episode. I don't like what it does to the characters. It's not meretriciously offensive. We haven't gotten to the really meretriciously offensive zeros at one point. We've got a couple of them in.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Bully Show, with that Rhonda Burbank, which at least has the performances and some jokes that save it. Here, the only thing that saves this episode is the performances. The performances are nice. The end message is nice. I like the first scene and I like the last scene. Everything else, I don't like at all.
Yeah, I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't have fun. I don't ever want to watch this episode again.
Yeah. For me, I don't go to a 1 unless it also offends me on a personal level, or a personal level of being completely assault upon the characters. This one at least takes an element from each character and writes it large. At least it's in character for Shirley to care a lot about animals. It's a character for the boys to be miscreants enough to end up in prison over petty crime. It's a character for Laverne to be that feisty and within the dream states. But everything else surrounding it is the problem. The OC behavior around it is the problem. Surrounding the thing.
Yeah, it's.
But we get severe character violations going on by the time season 8 rolls around. It's not like an half hour of watching my favorite character and then they get raped like Bully Show or Rhonda Burbank or things like that. Or
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta rake it a little higher.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's like
Yeah.
Because Day with Eraserhead is offensively bad.
Yeah. To you. Yeah.
But I would say similarly, I have zero interest in watching this like that because the fact that this is critically dull.
Yeah.
I just it's a and it sucks because these people worked really hard. They still worked hard. They memorized a lot of lines.
Yeah.
And they did all the makeup and they got the dogs on set and all that and it still just doesn't fucking work.
Yeah. Considering how a lot of the episodes edit all this out for Chikris. Considering how the rest of the episodes in this season work like gangbusters, a lot of them do. This is offensive in the way that it's not good craft wise, and it's not good when it comes to the characters, and it's not good when it comes to general writing.
Right. It's the way that it just kind of it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
That's what it comes off to me.
Exactly.
And I understand there are going to be people that like this episode. Good for you. I think great. I know I said that very crassly, but it's but I'm happy that you like it. If you like it, you like it. Fantastic. Good. I'm glad you got something out of it. I did not. I want this episode to stop. I want to stop talking about it.
Well, we're just about to. I think that's it.
I have no more. I literally have no more notes. I literally, when I mentioned that episode is boring twice, that's a bad sign. So yeah. Anyway. Okay, a quick word from our sponsors, if we'll have any sponsors at the end of this whole debacle. Anyway, Yeah, we'll be back after a quick word from whatever sponsors we have on this podcast on the podcast version, and then we'll have a wrap up epilogue. Okay, well, thank you again, everyone, so much for joining us, despite our string of negativity and thinky thoughts and fandom, fan wank, whatever you want to call it. Anyway. But yes, thank you so much for joining us for Night After Night. If you would like to know more, you would like to get in touch with us, you can find us on many different places at Night After Night Pod or Night After Night PC on Twitter. If you would like to tweet at us, check out some of the other great stuff our wonderful fan community has been contributing. We've been trying to retweet other folks that are doing other bits of content, other bits of posts, just all that sort of stuff, and trying to keep up with all the happenings and goings-ons with Laverne and Shoyle and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, that was dull. So, what do we have next episode?
Joy, joy, joy. Laverne and Lenny have stars in their eyes for two completely different reasons. Lenny because he's got a crush on Cowboy Bills waitress Sabrina Boosh, and Laverne because she wants to make a big splash at Hoot Night with a pretty love ballad. But Laverne's voice hits a sour note, and Lenny can't get a single word in edgewise with Sabrina. Will they triumph and make beautiful music together? This is Sing, Sing, Sing.
Ah. That sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see you then next time, folks.
Remember, kids, if a guardian angel comes to you after you've broken your leg, make sure you've taken the correct dose of medication.